Happy Halloween, Lock Nation. It is so good to see you. Now, I thought in my mind, as a photographer, there's a lot of Halloween photography that goes on, and what better place to to react to it than on my channel, obviously, with my best friend who has always been here for me. He's been a support. You know who he is. I don't even need to introduce him. Let's bring him on.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Tony, thanks for the invite.
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. So, what you got me here for?
So Lock Nation,
Mm,
you guys may not know this about Aaron, or you might if you go to if you're subscribed to his channel. He's big into Halloween. Like
yes.
Aaron, you have like a Facebook Halloween page and everything that you've been running for years, right?
Oh yeah. It's called Advocates of Halloween, and I think it's got like 1,100 people that follow it. Not bad. I worked as a haunted house actor for like half a decade, so
It's crazy, crazy.
yeah, it wore me out that last time before I had to stop going. It was too tough.
Yeah, I think like ever since we've been friends, you always kind of give me that heads up, like, dude, like I'm a big Halloween fanatic. Like, I'm just gonna give
Yeah.
you a heads up, like. I think you gave me that heads up just in case like you didn't want to like weird me out. It's like, all right, well that friendship's over.
Well, usually what ends up happening, and this happens at like activities that we've gone to, that like I'll get into costume, or I do it in my yard, and someone just like comes in and they're just like, I've been disqualified from so many costume contests and stuff like that, and so I was just like, yeah, well, it's probably best that I just tell people rather than just like showing up and be like, hey, I might cause you like permanent mental damage.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's watch the first one. We're gonna do this one that's right next to you, and we're gonna react to this because this is something that I can see you and I doing as best friends.
Let's check it.
And I do have to give people a preface really quick. Let me pause this. We'll start it over, but I have to give people a preface real quick.
You can just add your own music too.
Exactly. I had to copyright. I had to
copyright it.
I had to mute these because I didn't want to get copyright claimed. But let's get back to it. So this one, Aaron, if you can't read that, it says, I did a Halloween photo shoot with my brand ambassadors. Here are the results. Okay. Let's see how. That's kind of creepy. I'm not gonna lie.
That gives me some vintage vibes.
Like,
cool.
I mean, look at that. Like, I mean, it's pretty classic. Like,
it's very classic.
Yeah, it does give you vintage vibes, doesn't it?
It's definitely vintage vibes. Yeah.
Oh man, that one was great.
You know, I think so many people don't understand the kind of like nature and how awesome just like the bedsheet ghost is. Like, I know that it seems silly nowadays, but honestly, like, it was effective for a long time. So
yeah, and if people were to go online and like look up like Halloween costumes from like the early 1900s, they were creepy. Like they were really freaky. Like
vintage is very creepy.
Like, I don't want to show them on my channel because I don't want to give people nightmares, and especially like if little kids are watching. It's like I'd feel bad if I got some comments like, your video made my son or daughter have nightmares. Like, I don't want that. But yeah, I've seen some of these photos and I was like, oh my goodness, like like it's no surprise why people got so into it back then, but at the same time it was freaky.
Yeah. Very creepy.
All right, let's go on to the next one. With the show.
On with the show.
Halloween photography. Okay, let's see what the results. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, interesting.
That's cool. That's creative. Let's look for that again, just because like it's really creative.
Yeah, I really like the makeup on the hand. You know, it's got like the fingernails and got the soot and a little bit of blood. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was so well done. Like this guy, he's a TikToker, but he's also a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And, you know, he does. That's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
that's actually a really just smart idea too. Like, I don't think I've seen anything like that.
Well, I mean, even if you go back, I mean, look at that. Look at that. That's cool. Like,
I like that.
That's something you would see like in like a horror movie, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't even, honestly, this is really unique. I don't know if I've ever seen something similar to that. Pretty unique.
Right. That was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
That was really cool. Really, really cool.
All right. Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
that is cool. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm impressed.
That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Like, this guy, it's the same guy from that last video, but like, you can tell he did some research before he posted this. And that's the thing about, like, with anything, with like photography, with reacting to videos like you do.
Yeah.
You have to do research. Like, you can't just go by the seat of your pants, or whatever that saying is.
Yeah. No, that's the right one. You know what I actually really like about this? Is the fact that it's like a forced perspective, right? Because he's not actually really doing anything special.
Yeah.
He's just making it so you can't see the mirror. So it's forcing your eyes to see this other perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's really kind of interesting.
It's cool that he decided not to do anything like CGI, because, like, don't get me wrong, CGI is great, and if you do it right, it can be pretty believable. Marvel's a great example. But at the same time, things like this make authenticity that much more better.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people that, unless if it's absolutely necessary, practical effects are always better than like CG.
Yeah.
And that's why, when you go back and watch like the original Star Wars and stuff like that, like it holds up to this day because it's real.
All right. Let's go on with the next
That guy's a good photographer. That's
that's impressive.
That's interesting. See, that's if the forced perspective is just always something I feel like is really underutilized.
Yeah, especially in today, like, especially with like all the CGI and 3D animation and everything that people can do nowadays, or even with AI. Like, I could even make a video on, like, how AI photos make it realistic and can make these really believable photos. Like, I've seen a lot of AI photos that looked like they were legit realistic photos, but then you saw the caption underneath and it said this was all AI generated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a couple of things that comes from AI that's like, holy cow, but honestly it's still kind of young and sometimes it's not as believable.
Yeah. All right, let's watch the next one. Halloween photography. There's another ghost. This is gonna be impressive. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh,
let's watch that again. Like, that's impressed.
The bedsheet ghost, right? Like, you can't tell me that doesn't look scary.
That's something you would see, like, where would I place this? It's something that you'd see like in like a 50s or 60s horror movie, where they didn't really have many CG, like the technology wasn't there for like CGI. Yeah. They had to do things like this.
Yeah. I just think that, again, it's just one of those things that, like, the simplicity is kind of what invokes the terror, right? And I think the one thing that's really cool about it is the fact that they use the water to generate the reflection.
Yeah. I was just about to mention that reflection, it's really cool. And I like that it's authentic. There's that authenticity again, because, you have the lantern, you have the ghost reflection, and it just looks so cool. It looks like something you see like out of like a Stephen King movie or something.
Yeah, for real.
But like, that's impressive.
What's that one movie called? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It kind of looks like that too.
Okay, really quickly. That story, Lock Nation. If you guys don't know what book we're talking about, I'll put a link to it in the description. This is a book that when I was a kid, I'm not sure about Aaron.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, this book terrified me.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like,
the funny thing was it was for kids.
Yeah, and some of the stories were like, okay, that's not scary, but then there's some of them that like they just kept you like, it felt like a thriller movie. Like, you're just like on the edge of your seat. It's like, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next?
I was really afraid when people were starting to talk about that there was going to be a film adaptation, but then I found out that Guillermo del Toro did it, and I was like, this is going to be awesome, and it was actually pretty good.
I forgot that they did a movie adaptation of it.
It's actually pretty good.
That's good to know. All right, last one. Halloween photography.
This
is gonna be cool. Okay, that's actually pretty legit.
That's some like almost like a X-ray.
Yeah.
I like the tone that he chose too. Like, kind of brings it down. The saturation is down. Kind of give it that dark, kind of like
Mhm.
greenish gray look.
Like, that's impressive. I'm not
That's
gonna lie,
really
like,
cool.
that's really cool. I mean,
This
again,
actually kind of
he
gives
did
me
his
a few
research.
ideas. Yeah,
Yeah, he has some really good ideas with this, like but I think out of all of them, I think the one that I enjoyed the most was this one. Let me rewind it again.
Jordy, that one.
Yeah,
Mm,
because like, I mean, you can see that, like, he obviously, cropped out the person,
yeah,
but, like, I mean, that's really cool.
that
Like,
is really cool.
that right there is the essence of Halloween horror.
Yeah. If I was to choose, I think I'd actually choose the ghost on the pole. I think that one is probably my favorite. Just the I'm more of like spooky stories to be happening out in like wooded areas and like that whole atmosphere of like you're out by yourself.
This
And
one?
then suddenly there's just a ghost there and it's like, oh man.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my vote to this one. Like, this one is probably the best one of them all. Like, I mean, man, that's really cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So if there's a couple things that I really like about this. First and foremost, for a lot of people who don't know, like I said, I worked as a haunted house actor, and there's 3 different ways that they taught us how to scare people. One of them was the classic jump scares. It gets results for a second. The second one is to separate the people from their group and keep you kind of like in suspense with the person by themselves. The third one is creating an atmosphere that when you go in, it just feels like something's wrong. That's what this picture gives me. It's like I see
Uh-huh.
like the mist in the back, the floating ghost, and like the thing that I actually think also really adds to it is if you see his lantern, the reflection of it is different. Like it's like more orange and it's like
Oh,
kind of got that melty look.
that's true. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like the mist and like that melty flame look with the ghost. It's awesome.
Like that. You know what this reminds me of, really quickly? Let me bring
Yeah.
this back to just us. That reminds me of Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
I love that movie.
Like that's what this reminds me of.
Mhm.
Like this whole concept. Like that's what this reminds me of. Like it's something like you see in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, 100%.
Man, that's pretty legit. I'm not
That
gonna
is really
lie.
good.
That's pretty legit.
Really good photographer, honestly.
Yeah.
He thinks outside the box, and I think that's kind of what sets him apart.
And I think that's one of the things about as a photographer, you've dabbled in photography quite a bit.
Yeah.
And your dad is a photographer, and
Yeah, he's been there for like 40 or 50 years now.
yeah. And so like I mean you have when it comes to photography, like and I always tell people who watch my videos, I'm like, you gotta think outside the box. Like you can't just be like, all right, smile. No, you
Mhm.
gotta think, I did this one look in this I talked about this one look in one of my videos called the Majestic Look. I don't know if you remember me referencing that look. The
Is
Majestic
it light blue steel?
Yeah, something like that, like where the people are staring off in the distance, like the husband and wife are staring off. And that's something that I came up with because I
Yeah.
wanted it to be outside the box. I wanted people to think outside the box. And so I tell people, like, you can use that look. Like, I'm not going to like copyright it. It's something that,
Or should you?
hey. But like, as a photographer, you really do got to you got to think outside the box. Like,
Yeah.
if I was to try to be like Peter McKinnon or Matt Hapuja, people would say like, okay, you're just trying to mimic them. Like
Yeah.
I have to be me, Tony. I have to be, if you were doing this, you'd have to be Aaron. You couldn't just be like, all right, well, I'm going to try to do what Tony does. I'm going to
Yeah.
try to do what my dad does.
Hmm.
You have to carve your own path. But
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things about this if you don't mind. Like one, you gotta. It's kind of like music, right? And like the fact is that when you start playing music, sure, there's people that you aspire to be. Whether you want to play like Eddie Van Halen or you want to play like Travis Barker. But the truth of the matter is that doesn't work because, in truth and all honesty, you're going to want to be able to find your own identity. And the way that you do that is through practice. And you'll notice more or less what honestly draws your own interest in as a photographer. So obviously when you have for me, I like horror. So a lot of the times, if I could, my photography would probably be more aligned with what we saw tonight. And that is, to me, my identity. Whereas maybe what you might aspire to is maybe more landscape photography. And I think that once you kind of come up with your own identity and you come up with your own way of like thinking outside the box, and you know, it really just culminates into what is actually original work.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like, you know, I see all the time on the internet people, especially with photography, I see people all the time trying to copy what other people do. And look, I'm going to be truthful with and blunt right now. If you do that, even as a YouTuber, like so many people try to mimic Mr. Beast and the things he, like, you know, he gets people excited at the very beginning of this thing. If people try to do that, they're going to fail because they're just like, oh, you're just trying to be the imposter of Mr. Beast. Or like, you know, if, you know, I remember when I first started my channel, this is going along with it. Stay with me, Lock Nation. I tried to mimic Peter McKinnon. I did. I tried to mimic him. I tried to mimic his edits, and it didn't really turn out. And like when I started being authentic to myself, and you know, going back to this whole thing, like I mean, that's to me that's authentic. Like you know, he thought outside the box with this.
Yeah.
He was just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and like I mean, the results turned out phenomenal.
They did.
But anyway, Aaron, happy Halloween.
Thank you. Happy Halloween to you too.
So to the Killdeer Nation, you can use that name if you want. Happy Halloween. To the Lock Nation, happy Halloween. I hope you guys all have a fantastic Halloween. Stay safe. Aaron, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just as always, as I always say with everybody, just make sure that what you do it true to yourself. Be safe out there. The world's a crazy place, and just, you know, make sure that you're doing what you do best.
Bring some light to the world.
That's right.
All right. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Have a good one.
Peace.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.